Lotu-Iiga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's a pleasure to speak on this, the general debate here in the first week of June. And Mr. Speaker, as we've already heard, the polls are quite clear in the last week. National continue with our ability to stay in the high 40s. The Labor Party, of course, are wallowing in the early 30s. We've got Winston and his crew sort of hovering around sort of 5, 6, 7%. And you've got people opposite, members opposite, who complain and whine and moan and say that the sky is falling. Well, clearly, according to New Zealanders across this nation, the sky is not falling. And you've got to ask yourself why, because I was at the Warriors match, sir, on Sunday night, and a few Australians were asking me, why is this government so popular? What are you doing that leads you to have these types of polls in your third term? And I said to them, it's because we've got leadership, clearly. We've got John Key, an extraordinary politician, an extraordinary man, and a man that is leading this country admirably. And clearly we've got a caucus that is capable, that is competent, doing its job, leading this country. But the other thing that we're doing, sir, is that we're focusing on the things that matter to all New Zealanders. And on top of that list, sir, is jobs. On top of that list is jobs. Because when I survey my electorate of Maungakiekie, and I get 2,500 responses from the 46,000 people that live there, and they say the number one issue that they want me to focus on, they want John Key to focus on, they want our caucus to focus on in this parliament is jobs. And so today, sir, today in New Zealand, this morning, 2.36 million people got up and went to work. 2.36 million people. And that is the most New Zealanders that have got up and gone to work that at any time in our history, sir, at any time in our history. And we've got unemployment falling steadily to 5.8%, and we know that's heading towards 4.5% in 3 years' time. And we know, sir, that we've created over 194,000 jobs in the last 4 years, and in the next 4 years, we estimate that we'll create another 150,000 jobs. And jobs are important. Why? Well, let's just give members opposite a little bit of a lesson as to why jobs are important. Because they help families. They help families feed, clothe and raise their kids, as well as look after their elderly, as well as look after their communities. That's why jobs are important. And that's why our focus, our primary focus of this government has been on jobs. Jobs also release people from the dependency of welfare. And I know the Honourable Anne Tolley will know this as the Minister of Social Development. It gets people off welfare and into jobs and away from the dependency that you get on welfare. Sir, it also helps with the reoffending rates, because we know that if people are working, people are in employment, people are occupied, they're earning money, they're looking after their families, looking after their communities, building up this nation, we know that they're less likely to reoffend. Sir, that is why it's important that we focus on jobs. And this government's track record on jobs is unsurpassed, sir. But it's not just about jobs. We know that there are families, there are kids suffering out there, and that's why at the heart of Budget 2015, at the heart of this budget, we've focused on a support package, $790 million. Yes, that's right. If you didn't hear that right, $790 million to help children in our poorest households. And that is $25 a week for the beneficiaries out there whom are struggling. And I went to my local budgeting agency just after the election. I spent 5 hours in there listening to people who were suffering, listening to people in hardship. And they told me that they needed a hand up, not a handout. And so the $25 a week for unemployment benefits, the first time in 43 years that any government has raised it above inflation, the first time, and it's a national government. Sir, I'm proud of this package. I'm proud of this government for focusing on jobs, for focusing on those that are impoverished, for putting together a budget, the 7th budget in a row, that is actually committed to the welfare and the well-being of all New Zealanders.
The Honourable Ruth Dyson.
Mr. Speaker, the member that just